Flashpoint on the international stage. Breaking news coming in where Ismail Hossein Rahimi, the Minister of Justice of Iran, has said that no tolerance will be considered for the perpetrators of the riots that are taking place across the country. He has claimed that after January 8th, there have been no protests as the country is witnessing acts of terror. Meanwhile, Iran's judiciary has also vowed fast trials for those arrested protesters. Akanksha continues to be with us on the broadcast. So, Akanksha, we can clearly see the crackdown is well and effectively in place from the Iranian regime to take on those protesters on the streets. Despite the messages coming in from the United States, the Iranian regime is committed itself to wipe out this level of dissent, calling them terrorists instead of protesters.
Absolutely. And in fact, as we speak, over 2,000 protesters have already been killed, and the death toll is only rising further. What's a point to be noted over here is that authorities are blaming what they describe as terrorists for the deaths of civilians and security personnel. Remember, Iran is also referring to the role that the United States and Israel have played in these protests. Iranian authorities have repeatedly said that the protests, which initially erupted over economic instability, even the cost of living crisis, political grievances, were later infiltrated by armed groups and foreign-backed elements. We all know that the foreign-backed elements that they have been talking about are referring to the US and Israel. They've accused these armed groups and hostile actors of being responsible for much of the violence. They have consistently rejected characterizations of the unrest as being peaceful. They say that security forces are responding to violent actions, which is why, say, the IRGC or the Bashit militia has to crack down on them. And those who've in fact been talking about how this could be very well the collapse of the Khamenei regime are perhaps mistaken. It could be a gradual decline for sure. The regime is also buckling under much pressure, but given the strength of the IRGC, Ayushman, which is close to over 150,000 personnel, it is in fact impossible right now for the Khamenei regime to come down overnight. How the United States is going to respond, we'll have to see. Is the US now going to step back and think before coming up with any decisive military action, given that hours ago Tehran has already issued a warning that if US comes up with any strike action, it will be met with a retaliatory action by Tehran, and that will include Iran's own neighbors that are housing US troops, which, as we all know, is a direct warning to Qatar and even Israel. And so as far as this latest statement that we've just read out by Ismail Hossein Rahimi, the Minister of Justice of Islamic Republic, saying that no leniency or tolerance will be considered for the perpetrators of the riots. So clearly, the Iranian regime's been maintaining that ever since January 8th, these protests have in fact been calmed down, and now what's happening is in fact a deliberate sort of instigation that's coming in from external foreign-backed entities, whether it is the United States, Israel, only to ensure the return of monarchy through the return of Reza Pahlavi.
Right, and Akanksha, please stay with us.